The world would be in shock, and Birmingham City, UK would be thrown into the spotlight 20 years ago, on the 2nd of January 2003, when Charlene Ellis, 18, and Latisha Shakespeare, 17, were tragically and cruelly gunned down with a Mac-10 submachine gun in 2003 outside a hair salon on Birchfield Road in Aston, Birmingham, after a New Year's party, alongside Charlene's twin sister Sophie Ellis and their cousin Cheryl Shaw in a drive-by shooting. Sophie and Cheryl survived the attack, but tragically, Charlene Ellis and Latisha Shakespeare would die. The murderers turned out to be Marcus Ellis, Michael Gregory, Nathan Martin, and Rodrigo Sims, who were all alleged members of the Burger Bar crew, a then notorious gang in Birmingham. They would all go on to be arrested, charged, and then convicted of the murders of the two young ladies 2 years later and jailed for life, with the recommendation that they all serve 35 years each, whilst Rodrigo Sims got a recommendation of 27 years. But one of the convicted murderers, Marcus Ellis, then aged 24, was actually the half-brother of murdered girl Charlene Ellis, both of them sharing the same father. Their father, Arthur Ellis, known by the street name as Super D. Arthur Ellis was no stranger to murder. This is his story. On Wednesday the 28th of April, 1993, 33-year-old Arthur Ellis went around to the home of the mother of his two children, Sheila Barnaby. Arthur had 6 children, 2 of them by Sheila. Sheila was his former common-law wife, and they had both lived together on Raleigh Close in Handsworth, Birmingham. But he had left the home a year earlier when they had separated, and was now living on Crompton Road in Handsworth, just over 2 miles away. But Arthur had not come round for a social visit. He had come to the home angry because he had been hoping for a reconciliation with Sheila. But he had heard that Sheila had gotten into a new relationship and was jealous and angry because he felt like his friends were laughing at him. Sheila had begun a new relationship with 22-year-old Kevin Powell. Kevin Powell lived on Murdoch Road, also in Handsworth, just over a mile away from Raleigh Close, and was known by the street name of Captain. When Arthur got to the house, he began banging on the door, but seeing how angry he was, Sheila refused to let him in. Sheila also called the police as he was in a state of utter rage. Unable to get in and overcome by rage, Arthur smashed the window and forced his way into the home. Arthur then ran up the stairs, and according to his statements in court, he said he saw Kevin Powell emerging from the bathroom with a knife in his hand, saying that he was going to kill him. Arthur then claims that Kevin grabbed his collar and a struggle ensued, with the knife falling to the floor. Arthur then said that he lost his footing and they both fell down the stairs, at which point he picked up the knife and claims to have swung round with the knife still in his hand. Then he said he saw Kevin staggering out of the house and collapse. Arthur said he panicked and ran off, but according to eyewitnesses, a different version of events occurred. Upon hearing the commotion that was going on, the neighbours on Raleigh Close came out of the house to see what was going on, and watched in horror as 22-year-old Kevin Powell was hacked to death by 33-year-old Arthur Super D. Ellis. It was said that Kevin was unarmed and was stabbed a total of 5 times. As he was being stabbed, he pleaded for help from the horrified onlookers before going limp. Arthur Ellis then ran off, and Sheila Barnaby, who the fight had been over, ran to the door of one of the neighbours, 24-year-old care worker Jennifer Moses, and began hammering on the door hysterically. She was distraught and sobbing, shouting, at which point the neighbour Jennifer called an ambulance. Kevin had suffered catastrophic stab wounds to the chest and stomach, the knife entering his heart. He was taken by ambulance to Sanwa Hospital, but was pronounced dead on arrival, having died almost immediately. The murder detective squad was called to the scene at Raleigh Close, where they combed the area looking for the killer. They believed that Arthur had fled to local housing estate nearby in Handsworth called the Leverets. The police received information that Arthur had just received his wages that day from his job as a forklift driver, which he would collect in person at the bank in local area West Bromwich. They feared that he would collect his wages and use that money to flee. So acting upon this information, police made their way to the West Bromwich bank. But it was already too late, because Arthur had beaten them to the bank and had turned up to collect his wages. The bank tellers said that Arthur had turned up to the bank. The time of arrival meant that he had gone straight there from the murder scene, or not very long after. The cashiers at the bank said that he stood out as he appeared to be very agitated and had his hand bandaged. He withdrew £800 from his account before disappearing. Police put out an appeal to the public for help discovering the whereabouts of the killer, warning them not to approach him. And 5 days later, Arthur walked into the police station and gave himself up. The trial was 8 months later, in December 1993, at Birmingham Crown Court, where Arthur wept on the stand as he gave his testimony. He claimed he did not know Kevin Powell was in the house when he came that day, and also said that he never meant to harm the victim. Arthur denied murder, claiming that he was not trying to cut Kevin and did not realise that he had hurt him, saying that he can't believe he's dead. The prosecuting QC, Stephen Lynchon, alleged that Kevin Powell was killed after getting with Arthur's common-law wife Sheila as her new lover. The courts found Arthur not guilty of murder, but found him guilty of manslaughter by reason of provocation. As the verdict was read out, there were angry scenes in the public gallery, and relatives of the murdered man, Kevin Powell, had to be led away by police as they shouted and gestured angrily at Arthur. Mr. Justice McCullough, who was the sentencing judge, said that but for the provocation, he would have convicted Arthur Powell of murder. The judge also said that the victim, Kevin Powell, was stabbed with considerable force, and his victim suffered terrible injuries. But the judge said that he was prepared to accept that Arthur Ellis had been provoked because Sheila had not let him into the house initially. The judge also said that she was your wife in your mind, and I accept that you loved and still do love your children deeply. Arthur Ellis was sentenced to serve 7 years in prison. After the case, the murder victim Kevin Powell's sister Gillian, then aged 29, said, "There's no justice. My brother was stabbed 5 times and this verdict can't be right." The killer's defense lawyer, Mr. Robin Pierce Wheatley, described the murder as an extremely grave incident of domestic violence. After serving his sentence and being released from prison, Arthur continued work as a DJ and became a born-again Christian, and mentors young people in schools in Birmingham and Nottingham, helping them to stay away from the gun and gang culture.